Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What is something you thought was acceptable or really cool as a young person, but now think is stupid, or inappropriate now? Being a group of loud and obnoxious teenagers taking up a lot of space in public. As an adult you get more attuned to just how uncomfortable it makes some people having to navigate around, through them. Edit, I just want to thank you all for making sure my top comment is no longer a dumb joke about a block of 10-year-old Parmesan cheese. I thought it was really cool to hate everyone, for pretty much no reason. Now I try to remember everyone has a different life story than me. It's humbling to think that not a single person consented to being alive, too. Aren't we all just trying to make it through the day? I was trying to get some food the other day, felt like Wendy's. I got there, and this gaggle of girls were fucking holding the door of the building closed to stop one of their friends from getting out. Their friend, and, of course, another 6 to 7 people behind them. Absolutely ridiculous shit. I'm a teacher. I fucking relish the opportunity to turn on the teacher voice and tell them to knock it off, especially if they're being stupid in a way that affects others just trying to move about the day. From the age of like 7-11 I would brag about the fact that my dad had like 7 kids with 3 different women. I no longer mention this when talking to new people. I did the same with my mom having me at 16, and my dad dying from cocaine at 22. Though sometimes now I like to talk about my dad, because I turned 23 and felt like I accomplished something lol. You absolutely did. Great job on getting here. Not admitting when I was wrong about something. I used to think it was a sign of weakness. Now, I respect anybody who's humble enough to admit when they messed up. So people really expressly think this way. Truly fascinating. Good on you for getting out of that mindset. I did once know someone, online, who felt that arguing a POV meant basically being a lawyer, advocate for that POV. Which meant that they were completely unreceptive to info that could change their mind. And they also thought that that was how everyone else operated. Truly fascinating. Yeah, it's called growing up with a parent who will never admit they're wrong. Seen this way too many times in kids, and then I meet one of their parents, sometimes both, and it makes way too much sense. Drinking until you pass out. I have a customer that comes in every Friday. The girls cash a check for him and he walks away with $200, then heads straight to the liquor store, every single Friday. Dude had to be 65 to 70. I cannot imagine that, and I'm in my early 30s. When I was coming to grips with my problematic drinking, and the way it was affecting my life, I said to a friend, beer in hand, if the aftermath of drinking continues to trend the way it has the past 10 years, I can't imagine drinking at all by the time I'm 50. I was 33 at the time. I realized that I'd been regularly drinking to excess for 17 years, and that 50 was another 17 away. I had the opportunity to make those 17 years so much better than the last 17. The next night I got drunk for the last time. Woke up the next morning and just said, I've had enough. Haven't had a drink since. Being pessimistic, devil's advocate, a cynic. Always pointing out flaws or debating someone else's solution or proposal but not providing your own. It's easy to be a critic but hard to put forth your own ideas. It's also really annoying to always be the Debbie Downer. Freshman year of college there was a guy on my floor who seemed to only have positive things to say about people, bands, TV shows, athletes, etc. Listening to him talk was a eureka moment that you can do that. On a related note, I've learned that how you make people feel is often just as important or more important than what you have to say exactly. Thinking I knew things and not listening to what my parents warned me about. I've had a kind of opposite experience. I'm now in my 30s and have slowly realized just how wrong my parents were about some pretty important things and how bad a lot of their advice was. I wish I would have trusted myself more back then. I was wrong about plenty of things, like any kid, but there's also a lot I was right about, and I let my parents subvert my confidence in myself and my intuition. I like this take because there is absolutely value in your parents' perspective and it is worth listening to, but heeding their advice every time is just living your life the way they would, not how you would, which can breed resentment. I think it is far more helpful for someone to hear out the parent, guardian and weigh that information against their own ideas as well as other outside information before making a decision. Blindly following your parents' advice doesn't teach a person a, how to navigate and make decisions, and b, how to make mistakes, recover from them, and be okay with the inevitability of making mistakes in life. There is so much value in being wrong and learning firsthand. I used to think it was cool to walk through the neighborhood in the middle of the night with a blasting radio. Granted, this only took place one time. Some punk rocker wanted to hang out and loosen me up a bit, so that's what we did. It seemed like such a bold thing to do, and felt so fun and right. Man, we kinda sucked for those neighbors that night. There is someone in my town who appears to be in his 40s that does this regularly. He rides a skateboard with a guitar amp blasting music on his shoulder. I fucking hate that guy. Hey fellow kids. Around 7th, 8th grade, I would play my electric guitar on the porch in a suburban neighborhood. I wasn't good, so any passerby was just subject to an awful attempt at some Linkin Park song, or the worst version of Welcome Home by Coheed and Cambria you've ever heard. I still wince a little when I think back to that shit. Edit, I appreciate the supportive comments. I look back on that time with slightly less disdain now. Depends on the time. Listening to kids practice music badly on a summer afternoon is just part of life in a society. Listening to kids practice music at 11 p.m. not so damn much. I'm quite old now, but as a child who came of age in the 1960s, surrounded by people getting high on all kinds of drugs, I wrongly believed that pretty much all drugs were cool. Many of us became willing drug trash cans in those days, and some of those folks paid for the hard lesson that all drugs were definitely not cool with their lives. The way I socially offered meth to people as if it was passing a joint is so embarrassing. Everyone I knew was using, so I assumed that meant everyone actually was. Clean 18 years now, and that still makes me cringe. Oof yikes, but also congrats on quitting. Cliché but ill ad mine, I used to have straight pipes with glass packs on my dual exhaust. Was loud, and I thought it was so cool. Go driving around at night, thinking I was awesome. Now, dear God, I couldn't imagine having loud exhaust. It's so obnoxious to people anywhere, day or night. I find it really annoying when some idiot kid has them and then flaws it. Like, dude, you're not cool, you're a pest. It's even worse when some moron with loud exhaust and deep bass bumping slow crawls down my road at 2 a.m. I'm trying to sleep in peace, not wish that you get ran over by a steamroller. I was gonna post this same thing. I had a crotch rocket in my 20s and thought nothing of cruising through a residential area at 1 a.m. at mid-high RPMs and then really opening it up leaving town. You could hear my bike from miles away with the exhaust I had on it. Fast forward 15 years, I have a baby. My neighbor has loud-ass cars and leaves his house every night at 11 p.m., mows his lawn at 9 p.m., and is just so loud. It's my karma, I accepted it. My buddy literally has a remote inside his car. There are 2 buttons, one for normal exhaust, one for extra loud exhaust. He refuses to let his exhaust be loud in residential areas, but on the freeway he lets it rip. I think it's hilariously reasonably obnoxious. The perfect compromise. Hey, good for him. More considerate than my asshole neighbors. Having an opinion on everything. Rolling on the floor laughing sometimes. I wish I could go back in time and just STFU. Drugs. I thought I was fucking Kurt Cobain or Kate Moss in my teens and early 20s. Turns out I was just that one crackhead mayor from Canada. Rob Ford approves of this post. Spencer's. The mark of reaching adulthood is passing by Spencer's in the mall and thinking, who buys this crap? Quote. I went in there for the first time recently and was kind of astonished by all the dildos and butt plugs. Was not expecting that. I was considering buying one, but all the teeny boppers in there just made that endeavor seem more awkward than it was worth. Yeah, I've always known Spencer's as slightly better Hot Topic with sex toys. Getting older, you realize you don't care if someone sees you buying sex toys. Buying things just so I would look cool. I couldn't care less if other people think I'm cool now, and I'm sure not buying overpriced garbage just so I can look good for someone else. If I buy overpriced garbage, that's all for me. Updating my Facebook status every day with dumb shit like, gonna have pasta for supper tonight, epic. Or, the sunset looks cool tonight. This was before smartphones were in everybody's pockets and I didn't get my first one until the Samsung S3 had been out for a while. 2013-ish, so, posting pictures on Facebook to accompany these posts from 2007 to 2009 was not really a thing for a lot of people, unless you had a digital camera. Cringy shit. I don't really post anything anymore. I wouldn't say it was cringe when you did it. It's just become cringe over the years. You know, I think more people should post shit like, the sunset looks cool tonight. Now I'm in my 30s, but back in high school, I dated a lot of high schoolers. I wore a lot of Hawaiian shirts as a young overweight white boy. Goonies, never. Die, yo, I'm gonna be 30 next year. You can take my Hawaiian shirts from my cold, chubby body. Maybe I like looking like a retired detective who does too much cocaine but has to come back for one more case. Quote, I like to tell everyone that I got my high school girlfriend pregnant. Twice. We were married and in our 20s, 30s at the time, but she still had been my high school girlfriend at one time. I used to do drugs. I still do, but used to too. Smoking cigarettes, expensive and lame. I've always said if you start smoking as an adult, you're a dork. People smoke as teens because it's forbidden and cool. Then you realize it's a disgusting habit as an adult, but you're addicted and can't stop. Every smoker I've ever known has said they regret starting. Most started as teens, sneaking around and thinking they were so mature and cool. Now as adults they realize they've basically been had. I know a few who've quit, been clean for decades, and still occasionally crave it. That shit's scary. Acting aloof. Now as an adult. It's just annoying. It doesn't make you look cool. You're not interesting because you don't give a shit about anything. You're just showing that you have a negative personality and that gets real old, real quick. You're not interesting because you don't give a shit about anything. The interesting realization I came to as I grew up was that people who act aloof actually tend to care a lot. That's why they make such a big display of not caring.